Howdy, Possum Patty here. Happy Valentine's Day. And today I have a very special journal page to put in my journal about the Valentine's Day card. Come on along. This Valentine's Day adventure begins with an email that my buddy Dolores J. Rush sent me. And she said, have you ever seen an Esther Howland Valentine's Day card? And I had no idea who Esther Holland was. She said she'd only seen him online. And I was like, I need to research about this Esther Holland. And why is she asking me if I've ever seen one of her Valentine's Day cards? So I went to the New England Historical Society website and looked her up. And I'm just going to read a little bit to you about Esther from their website. And while I do that, I'm just going to play a little slideshow of some of her Valentine's Day cards. The New England Historical Society website, the name of the article is Esther Howland, Worcester's Valentine Queen. Esther Holland built up a business selling Valentines in her hometown of Worcester, Massachusetts, leaving the city's fame as the Valentine capital of America. Though she made a fortune promoting romantic sentiments, she never married herself. Esther Holland was called the mother of the American Valentine, but a more accurate description might have been mother of the professional American woman. She was a 19th century businesswoman in Worcester, Mass. Who popularized expensive English-style valentines with lots of lace, colored paper, and three-dimensional effects. And her thriving Valentine business employed women for decades. Esther Holland was born in Worcester in 1828. Her father owned a large bookbindery and stationery business. She went to Mount Holyoke Academy, which was the same school that Emily Dickinson went to, and they were actually studying there at the same time. After graduating from college, Esther went into the Valentine business. According to one legend, she saw Valentines from London in her father's store. According to another, a business associate of her father's gave her an English Valentine. Well, whichever story is true, she thought she could make one prettier herself. And she did. She ordered lace and colored paper from England and small lithographs from New York. And with those materials, she made some Valentines and sent them with her salesman brother on his out-of-town customer calls. She said she hoped he came back with about $200 in orders. But you know what? He returned with $5,000 in orders, which was an astounding figure for that time. What is certain is that Esther Howland's sentimental, romantic Valentines were very, very popular. She hired some of her friends and set up a Valentine assembly line in her home. For decades, she would be a steady employer in Worcester. Esther Holland never married. She is remembered as an aristocratic woman with glossy chestnut hair. She drove high-stepping horses, dressed fashionably, and had facials. Oh, wow. Her innovations included layers of lace, wafers of colored paper beneath the lace, three-dimensional accordion effects, and moving parts. Her cards had a red H on the back of the card to distinguish them from rivals. Some of her more elaborate Valentines cost $50. Well, that's hard to believe back in those days. Since 2001, the U.S. Greeting Card Association has been awarding an annual Esther Howland Award for a greeting card visionary. She said her business, the New England Valentine Company, grossed $100,000 annually. In 1874, she moved the Valentine factory from her home to Harrington Corner. Along the way, she suffered a knee injury, which forced her to use a wheelchair. Then in 1881, she sold the company to George C. Whitney, who owned the Whitney Valentine Company in Worcester. Whitney further expanded the Valentine business. For many years, Whitney's factory churned out Valentines. Then in 1942, the war shortages ended the operation of one of the largest greeting card companies in the world. So I was like, wow. Well, Worcester, Massachusetts is only about 50 miles north of here as the crow flies, like a day trip. So I wanted to do some more research to see if there was like some of her cards or more information about her life in a museum or historical society, or maybe her home or the factory or something was in Worcester where I could go and visit and do a day trip for Valentine's Day. So I did a little bit of research and I found out that some of her cards were in the Worcester Historical Society. So, field trip. When we got to the Historical Society Museum, Mr. Possum and I, and Stanley too, he came along, we were touring around the museum. And Worcester is a very old manufacturing center for many, many, many products. And I'll talk some more about the other exhibits in another video. I'll do some more journaling pages. But we kind of walked all around downstairs, and then I went upstairs, and we walked all around upstairs. And I came back downstairs. I'm like, well, where's the Esther Howland exhibit? And they had these cards at the front desk. Okay, it says, Be Our Valentine. So I'm like, okay, Be Our Valentine. Where's the Valentine's Day card exhibit? So I went up to the woman who was selling the tickets, but lucky for us, February is free at this museum. So there's a program called Free February. So we got to go to the museum for free. But anyway, I'm like, okay, where is the Esther Holland exhibit? And the woman at the desk was scratching her head and she says, maybe over in the library. She says, go check out the library. So I was like, okay. So I went up to the reference librarian, who was very, very nice. And I waved this card around in front of her. I said, where's Esther Howland's Valentines? She says, oh, you'd like to see some Valentines? And I was like, yes. I just drove up from Connecticut to see some Valentines. So she brought out a couple of books, and they were binders with, the plastic pages, protectors in them. And in the plastic page protectors were some of her Valentines. So she was very, very nice, and she was pulling them out. And some of them have these little folded accordion papers so that, they make them look more 3D. And so I asked her to pull it apart so I could take some pictures of it. And then she took out some other ones that were 3-dimensional so I could take some pictures of them. And then the rest were kind of more flat. And so she said, oh, take as many pictures as you want. She said, they're so old, they're in the commons now. I'm like, okay. So I sat there with the book for a while and I took some pictures. And then I was looking for some more information on her, and they did have a booklet with more of her life in it. And so I took some pictures of the booklet, some of the pages, but I didn't get to read it yet. And then she brought out another album with more Valentines in it. And she said some woman had collected Valentine's Day cards for 40 years. So they weren't all Esther's cards, but the had some of the Esther cards. But then, she had some cards from foreign countries, all very interesting. So I sat there and looked through all of those. So Mr. Possum was sitting in a chair waiting for me while I was looking at all these Valentine's Day cards. So she looked at him and said, and what are you interested in? And he just pointed to me. She said, her. I said, yes, he's interested in taking me and driving me to where I want to go. So that was a lovely, lovely day, and we stopped for lunch on the way home. And, nothing fancy, just a quick bite. And so I just want to do a remembrance page. I'm going to print out a couple of pictures, and I want to put this card in there. And I do have a card from the reference librarian. Her official title is Library and Archives Manager, and her name is Wendy. So Wendy was wonderful in helping me look at the cards. So there was no display about Esther Howland. And I was like, really? There should be a whole case talking about Esther Holland. There was like one little mention of her up on the timeline that went around the top of the room. But there was displays about all the other factories that were in Worcester, that, famous products made in Worcester. So I was disappointed in that, but really happy that they were in the library, because then I actually got to sit there and look at all of them. And, she took them out of the protective pages, and I was able to take pictures and then read some more about her life. So it was a wonderful day. So let's get to a journaling page. If you're wondering where Titi has been, Titi, this whole time, she was sound asleep in the living room, curled up on a blanket. And I closed the door, and I started this recording, and she must have heard me in here talking to you all. And she started banging on the door to come in when I was explaining about the Esther Holland story. So yes, she's here. She's fine. Yeah, she just cannot stay away when she knows I'm talking to y'all. Today, I'm just going to do a simple page that we went to the museum, the Worcester Historical Society, and this one is just going to be about Esther. And then I'm probably going to come back and do another page about something else we saw in the museum. I'm looking for the first empty page, which is this one. But I was actually going to put something else there. Maybe I'll cover this page. So I wanted to use this. And the red is great for Valentine's Day, but she's got these green hearts on there. And it does say on the back of this postcard, now these are free at the museum, Esther Holland Valentine, circa 1855. So I was looking at different florals, and nothing was jumping out at me. I don't know. Springtime things just aren't fitting with that. So now I'm looking in this, this is Hobby Lobby. Yeah, this is Hobby Lobby Country Road. And some of the images in here were florals. That's interesting. Looks like ripped material. But these are sort of pink and green. Should I put this? But that wouldn't be too bad, would it? Or should I use something more neutral? It's got a Victorian feel to it. I really don't. I'm not loving the way the red's on that either. So, yeah, I'm going to work on this for a minute. Well, we got a lot of pink back here with some red. Oh, maybe that. Oh, this has got green, it's got red. All right. This is like the fourth one I've tried. Yeah, let's see how I like that. Problem of having too many choices, I guess. This is not cardstock, this is just paper. But it does have the green and red. And this, I could make a pocket, maybe. Or I could Yeah, so I can cover the page with this, and then maybe use some of this on the bottom for a pocket, and then cover the back of this with some paper and put my pictures and journaling on the back of this. Oh, and yeah, my pictures and my journaling on the back of this. All right, so let's see how this goes. First thing I'm going to do is cut this to approximate size. I never get it exact, and that's okay. Okay, I have the strip that I cut off the bottom, and I might just use that as the pocket and just kind of do something like this for the base of the page. I'm running out of glue here, but that's okay. I have another one. Well, I'm thinking about doing some Valentines based on some ideas that Esther Holland had, you know, and layering it up with some floral papers. And then she used some very thin, she called them wafers of different colors. But I'm thinking, well, maybe I can use like some origami paper or whatever that thin origami, oops, yuck, whatever that thin origami paper is. I didn't mean for that to happen. And lace and little tiny images. Now I have something on order. Yes, I ordered some stuff. Very cheap though. Yeah, when I get it, I'm looking for something to spread my glue here. And when I get it, I'm going to try and make some Valentines. I know it'll be after the fact, but that's okay. You know, some people do their Merry 25th Christmas all year. Some people do their Creepy 13 Halloween all year. So I certainly won't be doing this all year, but I might try to make a few, put a few examples into the journal. And I did this by lining it up on this side. So now I got to make sure it glues down on that fold. Well, here's what happened. You know something's going to happen when I turn the camera off. I was just going to take a piece of this paper and glue it down onto here like this to make a pocket to put my Valentine's Day card in. And I was like, it blends in a little too much with the background. Maybe I should make a pink pocket. So I went digging around for some pink paper, and I found one that was a little peachy, sort of like this, but lighter, but you know, doesn't clash. And I'm like, okay, now I have a contrast, but now this is too plain. So I grabbed a die out of my die cut drawer, which is right here next to me. Put it back in the drawer. And I cut this out. And I was like, well, I could put this onto the peachy pink. And there. Now that's a little different. I like that. I have to make sure that this is going to fit this card. So let's check that. Yes. Okay. Okay. We can do that. All right. So what I'm going to do now is glue this down to the pink and then glue this pink in as a pocket and figure out what I'm going to do for journaling on the back of the card. I opened up a new glue stick. This is one Mr. Possum gave me for Christmas in my Christmas stocking. Don't panic, there is always more glue. I'm moving a couple things out of the way so I can have a little bit of room here. So let's see, I want that at the top, so that's the top. So I'm going to put a bead of glue around the edge. I'm using my tacky glue for this. I use the glue stick to glue the die cut onto the front. Oops. Oops, there's always oopses. Always oopses. Okay, well, that is a little bit more interesting. Interesting. Oops. It's not going to work. All right, I guess I have to hold this for a second. Okie dokie. I am going to let this pocket dry for a while. I held it down for a minute. It's still wet, but it's at this sticky stage, so it is staying down. And that looks interesting. Okay. So this paper is from the same pack as the brick paper. As you can see, it goes lovely. And if I cut it just right, I could probably get a little bit of those flowers and still have room to write and put a picture. Ooh, I have to go print out a picture, don't I? I've printed out my pictures. I'm gluing down my background paper. I got a little bit of the roses in there. All right, cap on the glue. So I printed out a picture of me in the library with one of Esther's cards and then a picture of the card. So I'm just gonna, oh, better wipe my hand, stick these down and do a little bit of journaling, and then we're done for today. There is my page, and here is my Valentine card, my two pictures, one of me in the library, one of the card. Happy Valentine's Day. Last Thursday I went to the Worcester Historical Society to view Esther Holland's collection of Valentine's Day cards. She is called the mother of the American Valentine. And all I have to do is to put that into the pocket, which I hope is dry, and have it peeking out, and there it is, my Valentine's Day journal card page. So thanks for coming along today. I want to wish everybody happy junk journaling and happy Valentine's Day. Bye-bye.
Y'all come back sometime, you hear? Y'all come back. Minnie Pearl, yeah.